Welcome and welcome back. It's still another amazing day in paradise. My name is Momma Kai. That's Momma space Kai. I hope you will write my name as your preferred candidate for the next mayor of Raleigh in the 2024 election season. And we are on question 5, bonus question number 5 from the PowerUp Candidates Forum. And it is: there has been a recent increase in tent cities or homeless encampments in Raleigh and Wake County. How do you think the city should respond to this issue, both in the short term and with long term solutions for those affected? So, this speaks to me personally, especially as an unhoused individual, unhoused mom, not just an individual, not just a woman, but a mom with a child. We're living out of our car. And knowing that I served on the homelessness task force last year, where nothing was done, a joint effort of the city and county where nothing was done, that worked towards alleviating the situation. This is a super important question to me. And it's one of the main reasons why I'm running for while I'm participating in this experience of running for mayor. I first want to speak to a little bit personally, because one of the things that I get asked all the time is, well, you're so articulate, you sound so smart, you sound so intelligent, blah, 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 blah. And I just want to dismiss the fact that people who are unhoused are not intelligent. In fact, they're brilliant. They are resilient, and they are an expert at something, even if we don't appreciate or agree with or like what their expertise is in. And I want to credit Joy Spencer from Equity Before Birth for speaking of everyone being an expert at something in those terms, because of the community that she works with. That a lot of the moms that they service are transient, but it doesn't dismiss their brilliance at all. And so, if anything, please recognize that the people who are living in tent encampments are brilliant and resilient. And that's exactly why they're living in those tent encampments, because they've found a way to help one another to survive some really awful circumstances. I also want to speak to what the city has already done, because prior to the first thing that they did that was brilliant was hire Emma Sutton as the Housing and Neighborhoods Director. Emma has a history of helping people become housed. She is very passionate about homelessness being a solvable challenge, that homelessness is a housing affordability issue, and that we need to bring people home. And that is a great introduction to the program that she started that's called Bringing Our Neighbors Home, where the city has dedicated about $3 million, and that $3 million will go towards direct cash assistance and helping people, helping one particular camp community get housed. And it's a project that is in a pilot phase for 2 years. Some of that money also goes towards staffing, towards the staff that will help make that happen. And it's an outside organization. They put out an RFP, or what's called a request for proposal, in order for that to happen. And there's also another aspect that she's putting, the Housing and Neighborhoods put out an RFP for a request for a proposal, and that's for another organization, or maybe even that same organization, but somebody who will manage funds that can become a flex fund, so that people like one of the women that I know who recently had to leave her apartment after being being unable to find employment after over a year of trying, she had to give up her apartment because she couldn't afford it any longer. So someone like her in that situation, they would be able to say, you know what, we're going to get you caught up. We're going to pay you ahead a couple of months to see and then we're going to see what kind of support that we can give you in order to help you find work. And so that's another aspect that she's been working on. But I will say this: without community support, it's not going to work. And in order to get the money they need, if they wanted to do it, like Stormy said, it would be an affordable housing bond, and that means higher taxes. And I don't think that is necessary. I think this is something that can be done in community, and that as a community, we could come together and raise the money that's needed, that it can go through an organization. In fact, it's the organization that I want to set up that takes those funds, it houses people, and also it provides the support services, the surrounding services that some people might need. What the city can do has to do with zoning and text changes in the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinances. Um, in a recent interview that Emila did with Big Ideas Raleigh, Dan Bagley and Sarah Glover, Dr. Sarah Glover, her and Stephen Gruber from the Salvation Army, they spoke. One of the things that Emila spoke about is that the cities that have looser rules according to zoning have less homelessness because more types of structures can be built and are accepted within the city limits. And so one of the ideas that I have is to build tiny homes, actually tiny home homesteads on church properties. And this is something kind of similar to something that Dr. Terrence Ruth talked about a couple of years ago. I don't know if he actually put it out to the public, but I know I had met with him personally, and he kind of shared with me that he had been talking with churches about putting tiny homes on their properties. I think the difference for me is that it's not building an official, like, long-term tiny home community. It is actually building a homestead with off-grid options. And that was inspired by Homestead Rescue. And, Marty and his family love that show. When I get a chance to see it. But it was inspired by that and this idea that people could grow their own food, they could have chickens and things of that nature. But what we would do is we would do it on church properties so that the churches can get a little bit of income, because I personally feel that this is an issue that should be handled by churches or our religious community, that we have so many churches, we have so many religious organizations that have property. And if we could allow those properties to have off-grid tiny homes, and by off-grid, I mean they have rain catchment systems, they have solar panels, they have compost toilets that they can have on their properties. And we could also encourage, personal garden, a community garden, some chickens. And with that, people can actually they can contribute to the church through paying their lot fees or the rent for those homes, and they can also provide for that church by growing food that's outside of their own and contributing. And then the church can take that food and they can distribute it to their congregation or to the greater community in need. And that way we get better health outcomes all around. And so my idea is just to change I don't know whether it's a text change or zoning requirement that needs to be changed. All I know is that I'm taking the Planning Academy right now so I can find out. So this is how we do it. Okay. I don't know. So I've had some conversations with people in planning before, and they suggested that it was a good idea and it might be possible. Now I'm finding out the steps that I need to take in order to do it. And so I'm super excited about that. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. But the other thing would be that not everybody is going to be able to exist in a tent community. And also that we shouldn't limit the tent communities to just people who are unhoused, but maybe who are, 30% AMI and below, who need a place to go that would help them to minimize their rent payments. And so I would love to see, these structures be on church properties, and that they're mixed. Maybe we have some elders, maybe we have some young people and things of that nature, so that they become, their own homestead community. It's just an expanded version of a tent encampment, but hopefully without all the trauma that's involved with it, that people have a place to be inside, that they have a place to cook their food and things of that nature. So I'm excited about that prospect, that a place to be in community with others, but have a place of their own, where when storms come through and the cold comes in, they're safe and they're protected. I will also say that I'm really grateful for the way that Raleigh is handling these tent encampments, and the state, the city, the county, the state, because the Supreme Court did issue a mandate that is basically illegal for people to be sleeping outside. And so unlike other cities and states where they're sweeping tent encampments, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do, they are actually helping to make sure people get resources. Healing Transitions has a street team. The police department has a street team with Acorns. In fact, shout out to Officer Howard, who is over the encampments, and he helps out as much as possible to get people their resources. We have a lot of good infrastructure in place to support what's happening now. What we need is the availability of different types of housing so that it can go quicker. Nothing that anybody else is talking about in affordable housing is going to help anybody today. But creating an outside flex fund by another organization so that we can get people into apartments where we can talk with landlords and say, hey, can we pay this rent in advance for this family? We're trying to get them ahead. We're trying to we're working with them so that they can be upwardly mobile. And if they want to stay here, they'll be able to pay for this rent in a year or two. Where they're getting the education they need or they want. We're helping them start the business that they want. And so those are the types of things that we need. This is a community. This needs to be a city and community based solution, but we can't rely on the city to come up with the money by itself, because if it does, it means taxes have to go up in some way, shape, or form. And none of us want that. We want to help people without making it difficult for everybody else. And so those are my thoughts. And I say this because of the experience that I am living. And from the things that I've seen, this is an area where we definitely need somebody who's leading with compassion and neuroscience, because it recognizes a need and it gets the need met. And so thank you for listening. I appreciate you. My laundry's done.